So today we want to create our first React application. So this is what we are going to do. I'll create a folder, then I'll put the React app inside the folder. So I'll go to my desktop, I'll go to folder, I'll call it React apps. So how the projects we are going to do will be inside this folder. So I want to open this folder in my terminal. You right click, then you select new terminal at folder. New terminal at folder. If you're on Windows, you do it this way. I'm coming out quickly having some. If you're on Windows, you do it this way. You open it like this. After opening it, this place will be editable, these top parts. You clear everything there, you delete everything there. You type CMD, CMD, CMD. Then you press enter. It will open it at the terminal for you. I come again. On Windows, you open the folder like this. You clear everything here and you type this text CMD, CMD like this. So after typing CMD, you press enter. Basically you do that, it will open it at terminal for you. If you're on Mac, you right click and select new terminal at folder. So I've opened it with my terminal. From this place now, you now run this command npx create react app, then npx create react app, then the name of your React application, I will call it first app, then press enter. npx create react app, then the name of your React application. So let's go back to terminal. It's down. Please, the class is being recorded, keep in mind. Don't display sensitive information on the screen. So after running this command, this needs internet, so it goes online and it will help you to create a new React application. Let's wait a bit. Let's wait for some time. Okay, you can ask your question. Jadisola.
Please, is it the same command for Windows system as well?
Yes, any device.
Okay, npx create react app, okay?
Yes, and the name of your React app.
Oh.
So this is first app because I want the name of my app to be first app. If yours is, let's say, Facebook, let's say you want to clone Facebook. If yours is Facebook clone, then it will be Facebook clone. npx create react app, then the name of your app. Any other question? Now, for our subsequent classes, I would have created the app before coming to class. The reason I'm doing this is so that we can see how to create a new React application. But for subsequent classes, I would have created so that I won't have to wait till this is done. Oh, let me just pause the recordings for now.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Uzam.
So we have successfully created this React application. After creating it, the next is you need to move into the application. CD, this CD stands for change directory. CD, the name of the app. Then you run this npm start. Npm start is to launch it on the browser. This is going to launch it for you. So let's first move into the folder, then we start it. CD, the name of your app. All we are just doing is we are following these two commands. So this is going to launch it on the browser. So here is our React application. It's loading now. Now, let's go to the folder structure. Yeah, here's your React application. Let's go to the folder structure of React apps. So I'll do this. You come here like this. Open it. So now, here is the React app. Let's open it and see what we have there. We have node modules. We have package lock.json. We have package.json. We have public folder. We have readme.md. We have src. So we are going to explain all of these things one after the other. Let's start from the first one. Node modules. Node modules is a folder that contains the dependencies of your application. What does that mean? Dependencies are those things that your application depends on, just from the name dependencies. Those things that your application depends on. Now, React is a JavaScript library, but even React itself still depends on many other libraries. And those libraries, they are inside this node modules. It's a very heavy folder. So node modules is a heavy folder that contains all those libraries, all those packages that your React app depends on to work. Any question? Now, because of his robustness, because of its weight, you don't push it to Git. You don't push it to Git. Let's check something together. You know, I told you we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 6 files or folders here. There's also an hidden file here, the git ignore file. Let's check it. Git ignore file. I will open it in Visual Studio Code. That's my VS Code. Okay. First up. So I'll open this in Visual Studio Code so that we can see it. So this is the hidden file that I talked about, the git ignore file. Inside the git ignore file, we are ignoring the node modules. It's automatic. In fact, it's done automatically for you. The node modules is ignored. That means if I push this project to Git, the node modules will not be pushed to Git. And remember I told you that the node modules contains the dependencies of the application, that is those other libraries and packages that React depends on to work. And the implication of that is that if another person should go to your GitHub account and clone that project, if anybody should go to your account and clone that project, the person will not have access to these node modules. The person will not have access to it. And of course, the application will not run. Let me give an example. I will clone a React app now from my Git page. What I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to explain this things. This, and this. These three, you need to, the two of them work together. So I'll go to my GitHub account. So So this is a React app. Then I'll clone it. It's loading. That's my desktop. So I've successfully cloned this. This is a React app. If you open it, you won't see the node modules because it has been ignored inside the git ignore file. And of course, if I try to run it, it's not going to work. If I say, let me come here and say cd welcome React. I'll make it bigger. And I say npm start. It's not running. That's because everything it needs to run is not available. Those things are inside the node modules. And because the node modules is not available, then it's not going to run. That now brings us to these two files. Package.lock.json and the package.json. Now, to understand it, I'll give an example. I'll give a scenario. Imagine I baked a cake, and let's say someone in UK needs this cake. There are two options. The first option is to take my cake, bake the cake here, then take it to the airport and send it to UK. That's option number one. The second option is to open a document, write the recipe, write everything, and send it to the person via email address. Then the person can get it at his or her own end and bake the cake easily. So the first option is tedious, and in fact, anything can happen to the cake along the line. The second option looked cheaper, faster. Yeah, it's more effective in every way. Like, just think about it. It's more effective in every way. So there are two options to send these node modules across. The first option is to come here. Someone wants to join. I think the person has left. So the first option is to remove it from this git ignore file, so that I can push the node modules to my GitHub accounts. I can push it so that anybody that clones this project, we have access to the node modules. But that's going to take time. It will take more resources and all. In fact, it's going to, before you can push it successfully, it will take a lot of time. That's even if you're able to get it done successfully. Remember, the node module is a very heavy folder. You don't want to push it into your GitHub repository. You don't want to do that. So this is not, we are not going to use the option one. Let's go to the second option. The second option is to create a file, then write out the recipe of my cake, everything I used, then send it to the person. The person can now take it at his or her own end, then get those things and prepare the cake. So now we don't need to create any file for that. The good news is that this file, so we don't need to create any file to write out everything in the node modules. What we want to do is there should be a file that contains those things in the node modules. So that's what you are going to push to the Git account. Now, these two files, they already came with those things in the node modules. We have the package.json and the package.lock.json. Now, look at these parts, dependencies part. Dependencies. This is my package.json. These dependencies contains those things in the node modules. What you have here, there are things inside the node modules. So they are just like the name of the package and the version of the package, the name and the version, the name and the version. This also the name version. These are those things inside the node modules. And this is all I need to send to my GitHub repository. So let's go back to the one we just cloned. You see it contains this package.json. When you check it also, you see the name and the version. So all we now say is that we now instruct our computer that go to this file, check out the dependencies inside this package.json and the version, then download it for us also. We say go to this file, check out the dependencies and the version, then download it for us. So and you can do that by just running a single command by saying npm install. So when you clone another person's React app, this is what you need to do: npm install. What this is going to do is that it goes to the package.json. Don't worry, I will still differentiate package.json from package log. We'll go into that. What it's going to do is that it goes to the package.json, the dependencies section, then it looks at those dependencies and it goes online to download them for you. Any questions so far? If you are lost, let me know. Okay, in absence of question, we move on. So it has downloaded it. If you go to the project now, you can see node modules inside it. So this has created node modules for us, and when you open it, you see all those folders there. So the reason of telling us this is that this node module is a very heavy folder. You don't push it to your Git account. Instead, you write out those things there. You write them inside this package.json. Then you send this online. Anybody that clones your project now needs to run that command git install. Npm install. And what that does is that it creates a new node modules folder for that person. Then it downloads everything in the dependency section inside that new folder. Now with that, now the person's application can now run fine. I can now say npm start, and this is going to start the React application for me. Here's another part. So here is loading. Let's wait for you. So this is the content of the React application that I cloned on github.com. This is the content of the React app. But we'll go back to this first one. I'll press this. I'm not using it. Okay. Just focus on this one. This is the first one we did. Now, the difference between package.json and the package.json is this. Remember I told you that the package.json contains the dependencies of your application. The package.json also contains the dependencies also, just like you have it here. You also have them inside the package.json. The difference is that, look at this. Do you notice a caret sign here? A caret sign. Now, when you run npm install for a new project, what Git does is that it goes to this package.json, it goes to the dependencies section, and it uses the one in the package log, not actually the one in the package.json, and that's because of this caret. This is like an approximate version. The one in package.json is the approximate version. This caret means we have three numbers here. Let me pick the one up. 5.17.0. The first number represents major release. The second number represents minor release. The third number represents patch. When you have a library, every library, or if you are to push your library, if you are to push your package online, it's good to follow. There is a convention. There is a format to follow. The first number will be the major release. Second number, minor release. Third number, the patch. Don't worry. If you do Node.js with us, you will see how to create your own package also, just like these ones. These are packages created by other people. Whenever you want to deploy your package, there are three numbers to use: major release, minor release, and patch. Now, if this is not there, if I remove that caret sign, what I'm saying is that if anybody wants to use this library now, this particular one, or this my project, the person must use this exact version. If anybody wants to use my project, the person must use this exact version. But once I put a caret sign, I'm saying that it's not a must that you use this exact version. You can use an approximate version. You understand? And this caret mainly deals with this minor release. That is, when you have carets, it says that you can use, it can be of any version of the minor release. I'm saying that you can say it can be 5.17.6, it will still work. 5.18 point anything, it will still work. 5.19 point this, it will still work. 5.20 point anything, it will still work. The problem is that once I change it to 6, it will stop working. Do you understand? Hello?
Yes, we understand.
Okay. When you have this caret means that you can use an approximate version. Your application will still work. And this caret, it can work with any of these minor release downward. That is, if it's 5.19, it is, once it is still 5. The first, remember, the first is the major release, the second is the minor release, and the third is the... Okay, Paul, you can ask your question.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
So, if someone uses anything above 5 points, whatever number, it doesn't work. Is it that the version is restricted within anything around the region of 5 points? Whatever number that comes after.
Yes, you are right. That's the use of this caret. This caret means you can use 5 points anything upward, like 5.19. But once it is 6, your application is likely to break. It is likely to break. So instead of caret, there's another one also. Sometimes you see this type sign, this sign, in some of them. This means, well, we don't have it here, but in some packages like that, you see something like this there. What this one means is that you can use any of the patch, but not minor release. For instance, let's say this is like this. That means I can have 5.17. I can have 5.17.2, it will work. 5.17.7, it will work. But once I have 5.18 points anything, it will break. Do you understand? Like it is this is you can't use 5.18 point something. Do you understand the difference now? The caret handles this. The tight sign, this approximate sign, it uses the patch. Oh, where is the noise coming from? Okay, so the caret uses this. The patch, this tight sign, this approximate sign uses this. You can use, if it is this, you can use any of this smaller version. If it is this, you can use any of this one. Now let's move forward. The caret sign. Now what this is going to do is that you know, you can use any of these 5.17 point anything. In fact, it can be 5.18 point anything. That may create a problem for us. In fact, sometimes it does if you aren't careful. Because if I create my home project and my project uses 5.17 point something, if you go online and you try to clone my React app, just my own React application, yours can be 5.18 point something and you still expect it to work. Remember, this is caret. And once it's caret, that means that you can use any of these 5 points anything, like 5.18, 5.19, 5.20, and it will still work. But sometimes when you change it like this, the application may not work exactly or as expected. It may not work as expected. That is the essence of this package lock. This package lock saves the exact version. This is an approximate version. The package lock.json saves the exact version, not approximate version. Let's assume mine is 5.17.2. That is what will be inside this package lock. This package.json saves the approximate version. This package lock saves the exact version. The exact version. This project also, I'm using, this is 13.4.0. It can be, mine can be 13.4.2. It can even be 13.6 and it will still work. Like you still expect it to work. But that exact version will be saved inside this package lock. Why the package.json saves the approximate version. So whenever you run the npm install, what it does is that it goes to this package lock, then it gets the exact version and save it inside the node modules. I come again. When you run the npm install, just like we did the other time, it goes to this place to get the exact version, then it saves inside the node module, so that the version of my system will be the same as the one on your own system. The version of my system will be the exact one as the one on your own system. Let's look at another instance. I'll come here now and I'll change the name of this project. So I'll rename it to something else. Rename. I'll say maybe first one. Then I'll come here again and say git clone. I'll clone the project again. Now, I've cloned the project. Just like I said earlier, it's not going to contain the node modules. It's not. When you check it, it doesn't have the node modules. Now, instead of running npm install, this time around, I will run another command, npm update. Instead of running npm install, I will use npm update, and we'll look at the difference between the two. So, npm updates goes to this place. It uses the package.json, not the package lock now. It uses this approximate version. So what this is going to do, the npm update, it comes here, look for this version 5, then look for the latest version of 5. Meaning that if there is 5.22 as now, then it's going to download that on the person's device. Do you understand the difference now? The npm install goes to this package lock and it uses the exact version as the one on my own system. While the npm update comes here, uses the one here, it comes here, look for version 5 and version 5. If there is version 6, it's not going to go to 6. Remember, this caret stands for the this caret stands for 5, things within the range of 5. Yeah, things within the range of 5. So if there is version 6, it's not going to use the version 6. But if there is 5 points, even it's 5.80 something, it will use that latest version, not the exact version in the package log.json, not that one. Instead, it comes here, picks this version, and look for the latest version of this. It comes here, pick 13, look for the latest version of 13, comes here, pick this, and look for the latest version of this. On and on like that, except this, of course, because this one does not have caret sign. Because it does not have caret sign, it picks this exactly. But for those ones that have caret sign, it will take that version and look for the latest version of them, then download it for that person. That's the difference between the npm install and the npm update. Npm install uses the one in the package lock. Npm update uses the one inside this place, and it uses the latest version of those ones. Like I said earlier, if it is this, let's assume this, we have this here. Instead, it uses the patch. It's not going to use this. Instead, it uses the patch. But if it is correct, it uses this one. Any question on that? Okay. Okay, Sheriff, you can ask your question.
Okay. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. My question is, so which one is advisable? Is it the npm update or npm install?
I will advise you use npm install, and the reason is because you want to use most times you want to use my own exact version. Sometimes when you try to go to the latest version, some applications break. You need, so I will advise that you use the one on my own device. But if you want to use npm update, if you know what you like, if you want to use npm update, be sure that you know what you are doing. If it breaks, be ready that at the back of your mind, like, okay, I'm ready to debug this, or I'm ready to fix whatever issue it might generate.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So we've talked about these files: package log, package.json. Package.json contains other things aside the dependencies. It contains the name of the application, the version, and some other information. Well, we are not going into all of those ones for now. Now, next is this public folder, README, and the SRC. Let me quickly talk about this README. A README file is a file that contains like the documentation of your app. what you have is about and the likes. It's not even peculiar to React. It's general programming stuff. Like the documentation of the app in the readme.md file. Let's not talk about these two. This is where the main work is, these two folders. The public folder and the SRC folder. I'll come here and open them from this place. So inside this public folder, we are not using most of the things there. So let me delete most of those things in the public folder. This, I'll delete this. In fact, I think even the manifests, we can, we'll talk about manifest later. Yeah. Let's just focus on this. Let's talk about this. Index.html. The index.html file is the starting point of your application. React is a SPA, single page application. React is SPA, single page application. This is, let me quickly talk about what SPA is about. I think I've deleted these ones. Why are they still here? I'm coming. Oh, it is that of another project. So go to the public folder. Okay. Now we have only one file here, index.html. This index.html is the starting point of the application. In fact, that is the page that will be loaded on the browser, the content of this file. That is single page application, and what that means is that your whole application is just a single file. It's just a single page. Let's say my app, I have about page, I have contact page, I have, let's say, dashboard. If you are coming from vanilla JavaScript, you will realize that you need to create different files for this. One HTML file for this, another HTML file for this, another HTML file for this. But in React, it's not like that. Instead, you create a single HTML file for these 3 pages. One for the, like one, we undo the 3 of them. When you move from the about page to the contact page, all you are just doing is that you are changing the content of that single page. You understand? You are changing the content. You are still on a single page. You are just changing the content of that page. In fact, this is the essence of this div. When I move from one page to another, all I need to do is just to change the content of this div to another thing. If I go to the dashboard, I'll change the content of this div to what I want to display in the dashboard. If I go to the contact page, I'll change the content of this div to what I want in the contact page. If I go to the about page, I'll change the content of this div to what I want in the about page. So your whole application only uses one HTML file, but you are changing the content of that single HTML file. Do you understand it? So for that reason, you are not going to create another HTML file. You won't have to create the maybe about.html, contact.html. No, you are not going to do that. You will just find a way. All we want to do in React.js is to find a way to change the content of this div. Once I put anything in this div, that becomes the content of my page. Now, let's move forward. Any question? That brings us to the SRC folder. This HTML, this index.html gets its own content from the source, from this SRC folder. Whatever will be displayed inside this index.html will be fetched from this SRC folder. Inside this SRC folder, there is a file there called index.js. Let's open it together. SRC. There's a file here called the index.js. So whatever you have inside this index.js will be sent to the index.html. What I will do now is that I will remove most of the things here. I'll remove this. I'll remove this. I'll come here and say hello world. So what React is going to do is that if you take this hello world from this index.html, it will take it to the index.html and display it inside this place. How does that happen? Look at this. Document.getElement by IDOs. So you are getting this root, and you are whatever is inside this place now, whatever you put here will be sent as the content of this div. This index.html is in the public folder. This index.js is in the SRC folder. But keep in mind that whatever is here at any point in time will be the one to be displayed in this place. And whatever you put here will be seen on the browser. Let's go to the browser now. Hello world. So I'll come here again and change the content of this to another thing. Hi. When you get to the browser, you will see hi. So instead of putting this, we have to do something we call JSX. To easily understand, a simple way to put JSX is you are writing HTML codes directly inside JavaScript files. In React.js, we are going to be writing or creating a lot of JavaScript files. Instead of creating HTML files, you will create JavaScript files instead. Look at this. This is .js. We still create many other JS. So JSX allows us to, or with JSX, you'll be able to write HTML codes directly inside JavaScript files. So I can create a div here now. That uses JSX, and I can say good evening. Thanks for coming. So I'll get to the browser, I'll say it there. Good evening, thanks for coming. I can create H1, and I say, let's say hello. And I'll get to the browser also, you will see the H1 there. Hello. Question before we proceed. Okay, let's proceed. Now, writing everything here will make things rough for us. It's going to make things rough. So instead, we are going to create a new file. In fact, the file has already been created for us, the app.js. So we create this app.js. You write your codes there. Then you now bring whatever is inside the app.js, you bring it into this place and you display it here. You have this app.js, you write your codes there. So whatever is inside this app.js, you find a way to bring it here. Note that whatever is here will be the one to be displayed on the browser. So even if you have this, I'll delete everything inside this place now. I'll delete everything here. So there is this app.js, so write your codes there. Whatever you have there, you find a way to bring it here so that it can be displayed within this place. And once it is displayed here, it will be displayed on the browser. So that brings us to something we call components. In React we have something we call component. A component is a function that returns a JSX. A component is a function that returns JSX. So let's create a function. My function, this is a function. Then it returns JSX. Return. This is JSX. Hello world. Remember I told you JSX is you writing JavaScript, HTML code directly inside JavaScript file. So this is a component now. A function that returns JSX. This is a component. Now in order to use JSX in your code, you need to, or it's not compulsory, but it is advisable that you do that. In other version of React, this will not work. In other version of React, this will not work because you need this first line. Import React from React. I will explain this line. Just take it like that for now. I will explain what it does. So I have this. I need to find a way to take this and bring it here for it to be displayed on the browser, because if I go to the browser now, I won't see anything. Let me close this. I won't say anything because my code needs to find a way to this place, this thing here. Close this, close this, close this. Okay. What I have inside this place needs to find a way to this place. You need to find this way there. So remember when we did the JavaScript, I told you about how to import and export, right? Import and export. So we need to export it out so that you can import it here and display it. So let's see how to do that. You just say export my func. Export defaults. 15 minutes to go. Okay. Export defaults my func. So you come here and import it here. Import my func. I told you if it is a default, you must not. You don't need to put it inside curly braces like this. If it is the default, if it is not the default, it must be inside curly braces. But if it is the default, you don't need to put it inside curly braces like this. Okay. So import my func from the name of my file is app. Now in React, you don't need to put the extension if it is a JavaScript file. If it's CSS, don't worry, we're going to get to CSS as time goes on. If it's CSS, you need to put the extension or other files. But if it is JavaScript, you don't need to put the extension. You don't need to. So all of this, you see this does not have extension. This does not have extension. This does not have extension. This means they are JavaScript files and folders. JavaScript. If it is JavaScript, you don't need to put it. So import my func from this. So we exported this here, then we imported it here. Now you can now display it on the page. To display a component, you write it like a tag. And that is why component name must start with uppercase, with a capital letter. You have to start with uppercase. That differentiates it from HTML tags. You know HTML tags are written in lowercase. That is why your components must start with uppercase. In fact, if you start it with a lowercase, React will complain about it. So uppercase components are written. You need to start with capital letter, so that whenever you are using it, React will be able to know that this is a component and not HTML tag. So let's go to the browser now. You can now see the content of the page. Hello world. Let's get another component. I'll come here and create another component. I'll call it first, second. A component is just a function that returns JSX. H2. So I need it inside this place in order to see it on the browser. So first you have to export it. Remember I told us that you can't export two defaults when we did JavaScript. You can't say export default second like this. You can't export two defaults from a single file. So you need to come here and say export like this. So I'm exporting this out. Now I can import it here. So I've successfully imported this here. Then to display it on the screen, you use it as a component. Like this. You use it as like a tag. Okay, someone wants to join. Any questions so far? Now remember I also told us in JavaScript that if it is a default, it's not a must to use the exact name. You can call it any name and it will still work. I can call this my own name. So whenever I want to display it, I use value and it will still work. This is not really about React. This is about JavaScript. This part is about JavaScript, not about React. It will still work fine. But you can't do the same with second. If I call this any other thing, let's say Kenny, and I try to do this here like this, my application will break. And that's because this is not the default. Application has broken. It's telling me it doesn't understand Kenny. Kenny was not exported out on the next. Okay, so I'll change this back to second like this. So you can create a component, then you export the component out, you import it here, then you display it. Let's do another thing. Let's create a new file. I'll call it, let's say, fast.js. Fast hello equals to this. Return the hello. So before you can use this, you bring in the import React from React. Then I can export it out. Export default hello. So as to see it on the browser, you come here and you import it. Import hello from fast. Then I come here and make it of the hello like this. So I'll say everything on the page. There's it like this. Now let's talk about this line. This. You see, these things, remember I told you that we have a lot of dependencies in the node modules, and in fact we are going to need them at a lot of time. We are already using those dependencies. Whenever you want to use anything from the node modules, we just mention the name directly. This React is present in the node modules. Once you mention something like this, okay, let me give an instance. If I put this, what I'm saying is that I'm telling React that this tire and second, they are coming from app file present in the node modules. And because this app file is not present in the node modules, this is going to break, it's not going to work. I come again. What I'm saying here is that I'm telling React that this app is in the node modules. Whenever you don't put anything at the front like that, this dot slash or anything, once you just mention the name directly, you are telling React that this file or folder, as the case may be, is coming from the node modules. But if it's not coming from the node modules, you need to put something like this. What you are doing is you are going to the root part, and the roots, that is, you are going to this SRC, and you are using the app.js. This here. You're going to this place and you're using this. I'll create a new one. This first. So in order to use this, you come here and say dot slash first. You are going to the root. When you get to the root, you pick the first dot. Yes, again, if you don't put this, it assumes that this is coming from the node modules, and it's not. So that tells you that this is not inside. This here is not present in the node modules, and of course it's not. This is it here. Report vital.js. This is not in the node modules, but these ones, they are in the node modules. Any question before we hand off today's class? Any question? Now, assignment. Okay. Someone is asking. Someone wants to ask a question. Okay, Paul, you can go on with your question.
Okay. I seem not to understand why we need to create multiple files. Why the React is just a one-page application. Okay.
Why is React a one-page application, and why you need to create multiple files? Single-page applications, they run faster for efficiency's sake. For efficiency's sake, SPA works faster. It loads its own content at a time. You know, if let's talk about the traditional app before SPA came up, before the likes of React, Vue, Angular SPAs, before they came up. Let's say I have a file. I have the index.html, I have about.html, I have contact.html. Now let's say these three files, they are just static files. That is, you are not getting anything from the server, they are just static files. Let's say in my index.html, I have welcome.
I can only see your Zoom call. I don't know if it's the same for everyone. Oh, now it's showing.
Okay. This was okay from this question. He said, "Why is React SPA?" So I'm trying to explain why React is SPA, the advantage of SPA over others. Now, let's assume we have three files: index.html, about.html, contact.html. Let's say in my index.html, I just have welcome. In my about.html, I have my name is Taye Abidakun. In my contact.html, I have my phone number there. These three things, they are static things, right? They are not things that I'm getting from the server. They are things at the front end. But unfortunately, if you move from my landing page, from my index.html to my contact.html, you will need internet. It will still need to go to the server to load it. If you move from my contact.html to my about.html, it will still go to the server to load it. So as you move across those pages, it will always need to move to the server at every point in time. So such that if your network is not good, you won't be able to load those pages, even though the content of those pages are just at the front end. You are not fetching anything from the database or anything. You are not fetching anything. But yet, you still need to always go to the server to fetch it. That problem is solved with SPAs. With SPAs, it loads everything at once, such that you can even put off your data and move across the pages. Do you understand? You can put off your data and move across the pages. It's not going to the server every time to load the content of those pages. Those pages are loaded once at the beginning, and you can now move across pages. You don't need server. That makes it faster. Do you understand how SPAs work now? Okay. So you don't need to go to the server to fetch. That's the advantage of SPAs. Now, then the second question is why do you have to create many pages? Now, we can actually write all our codes here, but it will make everything rough. That is why we have this app.js. You write your codes there, then you bring it here and you display it. Now, the essence of creating this first.html is just for us to realize that you can just create another file and you create another file within this SRC folder, then export it. All you need to do is find a way for it to get here. That's the idea. Whatever you put here, find a way for it to get here. Once it gets here, it will be displayed on the browser. That's what I'm trying to make us realize, that you can create a file, write your codes there, but just find a way to ensure it gets to this render, root.render. Once it gets inside this place, it will be displayed on the browser. Lastly, before we go, I explained to us when we did JavaScript that if it is the default, it's always advisable that you make it to be the same name as your file name. It's not compulsory anyway, but it is convention. If you're exporting it as default, then you make it to be the same name as your file name. Not compulsory, but is the convention. Again, we go to this place. This is the default. Then you make it to be the same name as your this. Then I'll come here. Hello everyone.
Hi there.
Any other question before we go?
I have a question.
Okay.
So my question is, we are changing the content of the root div.
Yes.
And whatever I want to render, we are going to put it inside the is it render.strict mode or something.
Yes.
So now we're saying as a React, yeah, it's a single page application.
Yes.
So now we have, let's say we have, with what we just did tonight, we have like 3 components that we are rendering.
Okay. Yes.
So I want to ask, is it that let's say we have, like, as we have these 3 components now, we now have components like about us, contact us, homepage, like that.
Yeah.
And we have everything like inside this React.strict mode. So now, how are we going to, display only the home page?
Okay.
Or whether we want to access the contacts page, we display only that one. When we have everything in this place,
Okay.
is it not going to give us everything? Like, I don't know that you get what I'm saying.
I get the
Probably,
question.
there's a kind of if statement to know that, okay, or maybe an event listener that, okay, when this thing is being clicked, when home is being clicked, it should render the home tag. When the about us is being clicked, it should render the about us tag in the React JS mode.
Alright, I get your question. When we are going to do routing, is a topic on its own. When we get to React routing, how to
Okay.
routing, then we'll answer that question. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Now, assignments.
We are leaving you because it's about to end.
Okay. I'll send the assignment to us on the group.